Okay, it's great to be on Long Island, where this is a landscape entirely dependent on a single source aquifer, right? There's water under the ground that the entire island drinks from and uses. And one of the great things at Bethpage is some of the water here, 60% I think Andy said, comes from gray water that's processed through some wastewater treatment. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you get that tested pretty frequently, at least once or twice a year. And to use that water efficiently, sometimes you make irrigation changes. Mike Hadley, golf course superintendent on the black course. Mike, what have you done here? I'm looking like I'm looking at some sod laid. It seems like you've had enough tournaments and things here that we'd have figured out the irrigation out here sooner than now, but what happened here?
It's just been an in-house process over the years of changing from a block system to a valve and head system. So we have single head control rather than multiple heads running at the same time.
So for a long time, you had to run everything even though it didn't need it.
Yeah, heads would be paired up, either 2 or 3 heads would run at a time. This approach is a great example. It had 3 heads that would run. It wouldn't have great pressure on, say, one of the heads. So in lieu of that, like I said, we've been doing it. This is actually the last 2 holes we did this winter, 13 and 18, of getting them to be single head control. So we put in basically build out from the main line and redo every head, new spacing. We have smaller heads because they're more precise. And
so is the spacing as far, is it 65 feet or was it 65 feet before?
It was probably further before because they were bigger heads. So there's actually more heads than the old system, but they're smaller and more precise. And
obviously one of the signature features, Mike, at this course, and Andy, at this course are the natural areas, right? The native areas. Yeah. We're going to get to sort of what's entailed there, but is some of the irrigation designed to be sure the water doesn't go into those places?
Yeah, it really started when we got the Barclays back in the day. We were going to host tournaments in August, and we didn't have rough irrigation. There was only fairway tee green irrigation. Didn't have rough irrigation. So started putting it in with the old system, just kind of band-aids of adding some heads on the rough line, shooting back in. But again, it was just kind of a band-aid. So eventually we said we got to do every hole and we got to get it right. So we started the process of doing it ourselves, where we're, getting it laid out and then putting it in ourselves.
Yeah.
So now we're irrigating from the outside in, not getting irrigation into the high rough because you can get more weeds that way.
It gets more problems that way for sure. And not just using the wastewater, but we've been looking at water data from some Long Island golf courses over the last couple of weeks since this report has been generated, looking at data. And when we look at the way courses generally should be watering based on the USGA water budget calculator, you guys are watering way under what the USGA is suggesting you would need for this. Now, there are also some pumpage and other issues we've got to address, but being more precise with the water is one thing, but also not irrigating some of that acreage and just irrigating down the middle, so to speak. I think eventually we've got to make decisions about how much area we're irrigating versus not irrigating. And I'm sure that's a different question on the other golf courses here other than the black course, right? I mean, not everybody's going and being more sophisticated like this out here.
Correct.
Yeah, all the other courses aren't getting this level of detail. They're still blocking out there, right?
Right.
But the expectations are different as well.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't need the rough.
That right, in the way you do, for sure. In fact, not having the rough, where people play a lot, it moves them through quicker. This obviously is a longer play. Plus, no carts out here, right?
Right.
No carts. All right, so let's wrap it up here about irrigation, and now we'll walk down and we'll talk a little bit more about native areas and bunkers.